Hello everybody and welcome to your screencast. This is your personal and professional development module for your integrated care curriculum, and we are going to be looking at personality types and thinking about having a bit of personal insight into knowing yourself and the impact you have on others. So before we start, I want you to think about your own personality type and think about how you learn. So how do you learn best? Do you learn best by doing, seeing, or reading? We're all very different and we all work in different ways. So just think about when you learnt to ride a bike. Did you just get on the bike and start riding it, or were you a bit more cautious? Did you have to see other people doing it before you did it first? So there's lots of different sort of psychometric tests and things that you can do online out there, but the one that we're going to be looking at today is linked to colours. So you can complete an online questionnaire and you come out as a different colour. So you either come out as blue, red, yellow or green. Now I happen to know that I fit into this yellow bracket. So I fit into the more extrovert, changeable and people driven, and it says weak emotion. So if I give an example, when I make decisions or if I'm doing anything, I can be very vocal about it. I'm very easily adaptable to change. I'm also thinking about the people involved in whatever I'm doing. So I'm always thinking about how I can work with people best, get people on board. It says weak emotion. Now just be mindful of what that means, weak. It doesn't mean weak in a negative way. It just means that you consider people's emotions when making decisions. And then you've got the opposite end of the scale here. You've got somebody who fits into the red bracket. So they're quite similar in that they're still the extrovert, changeable, but they're very task-driven and strong emotion. So this person would make a decision because it's logically the right thing to do. They maybe wouldn't consider the human sort of factor in there around people's feelings and emotion. They would think it's the right thing to do, so they're going to do it. Then you've got somebody who sits more in the blue. Again, similar to red, task-driven, strong emotions, but they tend to be a bit more introvert and not as changeable, flexible or adaptable. And then you've got somebody who sits here in the green. Similar to people yellow, very, very people-driven, and like I say, linked to people's emotions. But opposite to yellow, they tend to be a little bit more introvert and again, not as adaptable to change. So what the idea of this exercise is that you're going to find out which colour you are. And it might be that you're more than one colour. So you might be a bit yellow and a bit of green, or you might be a bit of yellow and a bit of blue. But there will be one that you've got more of a preference towards. And that'll be the one that will be like your comfort blanket really. But it might be that you've got bits of all the colours. And actually there are strengths in all of them. So really to be a well-rounded healthcare practitioner, you need a bit of all of the colours for your clinical sort of decision making and different things that you're going to be doing in healthcare. So don't worry if you come out with all the colours, but there will be one that you've got a stronger preference towards. So what I want you to do now is I just want you to pause this screencast and just take a little bit of time to reflect. So I want you to consider the following. I want you to think about how your personality type might impact on others. How do others impact on you? And what you might need to do to help other personality types learn. So if you're in a classroom and you are an activist learner, but you're working with somebody who's a bit more of a reflector and a thinker, how you encourage them to get on with the tasks that you're doing and be a bit more of an activist, but how might they encourage you to be a bit more reflective? So if you go into your PebblePad account, that is linked, that's on your Blackboard site. There's a direct link to your PebblePad account. So if you go back to the Blackboard site, you'll find the link for your PebblePad account. So learning styles. I started to touch on that there a little bit with learning styles and started to talk a bit about reflectors and activists. So that's what we're going to think about now. So another way of looking at it, this is devised by Honey and Mumford from way back when, 1986, so it's been around a long time. And Honey and Mumford divided the learning styles into 4 different styles. So you've got activist, pragmatist, reflectors and theorists. Each of the learning styles have got their own characteristics and an individual way in which to display all the areas but in different proportions. So activists. Activists are people who learn by doing. So they very much involve themselves in new experience and will try anything once. And they tend to act first and think later. So I am very much an activist. Even doing this screencast, I didn't really think about it, I just got on it and I did it. And that's very much how I learn and experience things. Sometimes that works really well. Other times it doesn't. There's times where there needs a bit more thought and reflection. So activists learn best when they're involved in new experiences, problems and opportunities, love being thrown in at the deep end, love working with others in problem-solving games, role-playing exercises and able to lead a group. So for me, this integrated care curriculum is a brand new curriculum. I'm thriving in this environment because this is the kind of way that I learn and I enjoy the most because it's something brand new that I've never done before. The ways that I don't learn very well is when I'm sat listening to lectures. So if I was sat with a 2-hour lecture just listening to someone talk, I would switch off. Or reading long explanations. Anything reading or writing or thinking on my own, I tend to switch off. So when I do have to sit and do some reading, I have to do it in a way that suits my learning style. So I would maybe chunk the reading and I'd also do mind maps as well to help me take on board the information. So reflectors. So they learn by observing and thinking. They consider all possible angles and implications before coming to an opinion. So the reflector is the opposite end to an activist. They spend time listening and observing and tend to be cautious and thoughtful. So reflectors are my best friends because I need reflectors in my life. I need somebody to go, whoa, let's just think about it. Let's plan it a bit more. These people are able to stand back and observe, give time to think and investigate before commenting or acting, given an opportunity to review what has happened, and they're doing tasks with tight deadlines as well. So these people tend to be excellent completer finishers. So reflectors learn least when they're forced to take the lead in a group, doing things without preparation, rushed or deadlines. So there will be people that are put in situations where they say, right, you've got to cover someone, they're off sick and you've got to cover this lecture. That will be a reflector's worst nightmare because they want to take a bit more time and preparation about things. Pragmatists. So these are similar to activists, but tend to be a little bit more thoughtful, thinking before they act. But they are similar in that they like to try things out. So pragmatists look for new ideas that can be applied to problem in hand, like to get on with things, tend to be impatient with open-ended discussions, and they're practical, down-to-earth people. Pragmatists learn best when there's an obvious link between a topic and a current need. They're shown techniques with clear practical advantages. They can try things out with feedback from an expert. Pragmatists tend to be quite hierarchical. They like to have somebody who is seen as an expert. They like that kind of structure in place. And they like it when they can copy an example or emulate a role model. So like I say, similar-ish to activists, but activists wouldn't, different in that the pragmatists would like somebody to refer back to and almost sort of imitate or copy. So I'd like maybe to see somebody run a session and then they would do a session. Pragmatists learn least when there's no immediate practical benefit. So if they can't actually see an impact, then they would probably get quite annoyed. And there's no clear guidelines on how to do it. And it appears all to be theory. So pragmatists are very much hands-on people. Let's get it down to get it done. And like I say, very down to earth. So theorists like to understand the theory behind the actions. They need models, concepts and facts to learn, love to analyse and synthesise and feel uncomfortable with subjective judgments. So theorists are amazing at any kind of research. Theorists learn best when the activity is backed by ideas, concepts and form a model. They like things in a structured situation with clear purpose. Theorists like to have a chance to question and probe, very curious, ask lots of questions, and required to understand a complex situation. Theorists learn least when they're in situations that emphasise emotions or feelings, when activities are unstructured or ambiguous, and when asked out without knowing principles, concepts or involved. So if this person's great to have around, like I say, if you're doing any kind of research or investigation or things that need sort of real attention to detail, and somebody just to sit back and think before acting. Again, time to pause and reflect. And it says, yes, even you activists. So I'm reckoning whoever wrote this session was a theorist. So yeah, time to pause and reflect and consider the following. So how might your learning style impact on others? So if I think about myself, I'm an activist learner. So how might that impact on others when I'm rushing on to get in with a task and rushing people to do? That might make people feel a bit anxious or on edge. What do I need to do to help other learning styles? So if I'm a known activist and I'm working with a lot of theorists, if I know I'm working with theorists, and if I'm wanting them to act on something, then I could also back it up with a model or a theory or something to make them feel reassured that it's a sound decision. And again, I want you to log this in your PebblePad account, please, and share this with your academic advisor or your tutor. It's coming towards the end of this session now. Just look at each picture. So we've learnt a little bit about colours, we've learnt about learning styles. Which one do you think this one is? So they've jumped straight from the diving board into the water. Do you think that one's an activist, maybe? This person's standing off the side, looking back, observing a little bit. Maybe they're the theorist or the pragmatist. Then we've got here, these ones all geared up, so they've got the snorkeling, they've got the armbands, they've got the rubber ring around them. They could be quite pragmatic, they're dealing with it in a very practical way. And then we've got the person here sat reading the book, so that they might be more of the theorist. So these members might be a bit more reflector. And that is the end of your session. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's made you think a little bit about your own learning style. Now, what you also might want to do is find out about the other people in your group. So if you've learnt that you're an activist, find out about other people because it will impact how you work together. So the next time you sit down to do a group activity, maybe say, hello, my name's Michelle and I'm an activist. And just work around the room and just find out what learning styles you are. Okay, hope that's been useful and enjoy the rest of your session.